Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. With 4 race starts, we're going to start with our Category 4 riders, then 3, 2 and 1. Our riders lined up in yellow, that is our Category 1 riders. In green, our Category 2. In blue, Category 3. And Category 4 riders, Zaid Hamden in Category 2. They have a march on those Category 1 riders. Gotta stay in with this pack here. Hamden chasing hard to get onto the groups. You've got to power your way over this 17% gradient. And look at that group. It is being fractured. It is snaking its way across the road here. The back of this group are going to be in danger, because if a group of 5 or 6 riders go clear with this kind of quality, they are going to be incredibly hard to chase down. He's got Dadson right with him. So we're going to have 3 and 4 together, and we are going to have 1 and 2 together in terms of categories together out on that road. The team from the UAE is going to allow SS to come onto the back. He's absolutely putting everything into this. Come on, get in there. This is some ride. He's having to dance to the tune that is being set by Michael Knudsen. He's the man who's composing all the right notes in all the right order at the moment.
Parisi continues to push on those pedals, continues to push around that right-hand bend that's going to take him to the finish line as Parisi win in the Category 3 race.
So hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. It's Qualifier Race number 2 on the 12th of March 2023, and it's going to be our men's race. We are here in the studios, in the commentary boxes. My name is Matt Payne. I'm going to be bringing you all of the action here today, and I'm joined again to bring us all of the stats, facts, and some insights as a keen race rider, as well as Director Sportif of Cycling Esports. It is Emma Martin. Emma, welcome to the studio. We are in a cracking course. It's very different to last week. We saw in the Rewinds Australia. This week we are in Arabia.
We are indeed, and it's great to be with you today for this course in Arabia. So we were in Australia last week. This is such a different course today that these men will be facing. So 45 kilometres of racing today with an elevation of 997 metres. And as you can see from that, it's a fairly flat with some gentle undulations until we get into the latter stages of this race today. So one small climb before the main hot category climb comes at 31 kilometres. So yes, indeed, it is a long finishing climb today with an average gradient of 5.5%. Now, that 15-kilometre climb, the riders will see the checkered flag at the top. So a mountaintop finish today. There are steeper segments, but this is just one continual long climb for these riders at the end of this race field. Now, throughout the course, we will see the segments which will give us the time gaps and some indication of what is happening in the races. And those are discrete segments today. So 7 of those ranging from 1 kilometre in distance to 5 kilometres in distance. And it will give us some indication of the racing, Matt.
It will indeed. And our 4 categories of riders await their race start. Category 1 in yellow, Category 2 in green, Category 3 in blue, and Category 4 in red. They are going to be our first starters, and they are lining up ready to go. A time gap between each of our groups, and that means that the Category 1 will be the group chasing all the rest of the riders. The Category 1 behind Category 2 in green, and then Categories 3 and 4. Category 4, the first of our riders to start in our men's final here on MyWhoosh, on the Sunday Race Club here today. And that race field just coming into their countdown. So time to make sure that they're all fueled up. They've got the bottles and they're all ready to go. Let's take a little bit of a look through that race field, Emma. We've got quite a number of riders here today. We've got some regular names.
Yeah, so this is our smallest race field today. So our riders in Category 4 in those red jerseys. 13 riders on the start sheets today. So Suarez is in here. Calangard, Acevedo, Agudelo, Burnett, Goldbun is in here as well. So looking forward to some really good racing today.
I think we're going to be really treated to some fast racing and some really interesting performances because getting your pacing right on this course is key. And we do have that little climb that kicks in before we get in to the climb proper.
Yeah, last week it was Suarez from Acevedo, but the week before when we used this course, it was Acevedo Suarez 1-2.
Yeah, going to be interesting to see who is it going to suit today. So our category 4 riders are lined up and ready to go. The clock is ticking.
So we are in with Bernard down on the start line. The cadence is spinning and the power is going up as these riders await the start of the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. They are away and through the start banner and they are taking the corners and turns and out onto this course proper as they transition onto this wooden bridge which crosses the river and gives them a start of a high pace with lots of momentum because this is a flat start and this pack are already moving well.
Yeah, you can just see the riders surrounded by the water, the trees, this lush vegetation is going to go by, in theory, unnoticed by the riders because this start is critical, isn't it? You shouldn't be looking at the sides. You need to be focused really on that group because loose group now, you're in big trouble.
The view may be good, but the view is not what you should be looking at. It should be the wheel in front of you because you're right, Matt. A flat start with a good group gives great momentum and you need to be watching those wheels to make sure you don't get gapped in distance off the start. This group, though, being led out by Goldburn, looking strong and all together at the moment.
So a category 4 up and racing. The start, as Emma has just said, it is flat. It is key to get in with that group, but there are some undulations on the way through. We can't really call them climbs until we hit the first big ascent, but they do come in and they can break the group if they're not paying attention. Get a gap gone and you're in trouble. For those riders who maybe weren't, or viewers who weren't watching, Emma, the earlier women's show, just run through for us once again the data on the screen. What are we seeing?
Yeah, so on the top left-hand corner of your screen, viewers, you can see the power and data information relating to the rider that we are highlighting at the moment. So currently at the moment, Tom Goldburn is the rider highlighted. The watts are at 218. They're currently in green, which indicates he's not on the front of the pack and he's drafting. Swapping to black, indicating he's now out of the draft and is back towards the front of that group. 86 revs per minute for his pedal cadence, 163 his heart rate, and then the information underneath the fact that he's moving at nearly 40 kph. 2 minutes has now gone and travelled 1.3 kilometres nearly in distance. So on the right hand top corner of your screen, the graphic is slightly different. This is the one that shows you what is happening in the race at the moment. We've got a large group of category 4 riders and one rider just off the back there. The graphic underneath gives you the parkour, the course, pretty flat at the moment. Then finally, our column of riders' names on the right-hand bottom corner of your screen. Currently, Tom Goldburn is highlighted in red because that's the rider we are watching at the moment. That those are the riders around him and the riders' details, but also really important, that final number underneath their name on the far right-hand side indicates the time gap distance to the rider we are highlighting.
So that's what you're seeing on your screens in terms of data, in terms of what the riders are also seeing on theirs. The riders in category 4 on the right-hand side of your split screen. On the left-hand side, you can see the riders in category 3 waiting ready to go. They will be our next group of riders on the road, and they can see on the right hand side that distance is continuing to tick up here. So the riders in category 4 about to hit 2 kilometers covered, and our riders in category 3 still have about a minute and a half still to go. So that distance is increasing. It's going to be then a 10-minute gap after these riders. So let's get a look at the teams and the riders in here in category 3. And again, another field that has increased.
Yeah, so the Category 3 race today, starters down as 26 riders on the start sheets today in those blue jerseys. All individuals, no teams. Now, as our viewers will know, the team competition absolutely critical at the end of the month. Up until then, it is an individual race in each of the 4 categories, as evident today in this Category 3 race. So looking forward to this Category 3 race. Now, it was Parisi followed by Ruiz who took the win in this race last week in Australia, but last time we were on this course it was Cusimano and Valencia, so strength and depth in this field. I'm really looking forward to see who comes out on top today.
Yep, I think going to be interesting to see how it plays out as well, because we've got people like the Dadsons known for their attacking style of racing early on. Let's see who's going to take this race out. So our riders lined up and ready to go. So our riders in on Category 3 await the go sign on that yellow gantry, and away they go. Here they are out and moving, and that big kick is evident as they come in. They are going to turn and take the first left-hand turn. It brings them down this boardwalk across the lagoon, taking the scenery in is not on their agenda either. You'll see Category 4 moving quick. Category 3 need to set out quickly because they will want to close down on those riders in front and use the draft, use the catch to their advantage as we move in and out. And it looks to me like just about everybody there. I think I saw 1 or 2 riders maybe not quite make this escape here, Emma. That could be costly.
Yeah, making sure you get a nice clean start is really important, because that pack will pick up pace and they'll pick up momentum, because this flat start really allows the group to start moving. As we can see here, they're already over 30 kph and moving towards 35. We've got 1 or 2 riders just rejoining the group actually, Matt, so I think we may have had a couple of riders struggle at the start in this Category 3 race, but now this group coming all back together again. A little bit further down the road at 3.5 kilometres, we're already looking like we've got some action on the front of this Category 4 race with 3 riders going clear, but this entire pack of Category 3 riders now moving out and into the city, coming off of the water and heading towards this roundabout all together.
So as these riders set out and make the way through in Category 3, chasing Category 4, we are going to run through a couple of little bits and pieces. It could almost be called housekeeping on the show today, just because I know we've got a lot of new viewers as well as a lot of new riders. So the race is effectively runs as a handicap out on the road. We're going to see how those riders get on. So those riders are out on the course. They are moving fast, and they are all setting off at different times. Now, there are no prizes for the overall finishing position across all categories, is there, Emma? It's discrete to each category.
Yeah, so it is indeed discrete to each category. So Category 1, 2, 3 and 4 are 4 different races, and each of those 4 races have prize money 1st to 5th. Now, we may well see, because of the staggered start, the Category 1 riders may not make the catch and be first on the road. It could be our Category 3 riders who cross the line first on the road. So they will take the win on the road, but they only take the win in the Category 3 race.
And those top 5 positions are important. So we can see on the right hand side of our screen here, we've got a little bit of a gap just forming with Goulburn with 2 other riders. They've got about 8 seconds on the riders behind. If they could stay clear, they would be assured themselves of a top 3 prize rather than a 4th or a 5th place prize, and ensure they're in that prize money. Much harder to take away the money when you are in a big pack in that big group, as we can see with Category 3 in there. The riders are up and racing and out and away. So that's the prize money. It's allocated out. When we go to the finals, we have team prize money added into that as well, with some really big, and that's the top 3 riders in each team that qualify for the prizes in each of our categories there on the way through. So we have team prizes in the finals as well. Now, let's take a look at our riders and those distances out on the course. Emma, take us through what we're seeing.
Yeah, so category 4 at the moment, we've seen a 3-man breakaway in category 4. We're seeing a 1-man breakaway go in category 3 at the moment. Jack Staples is the rider pushing on in category 3, replicating what's happened in the category 4 race field with the 3 riders clear there. So Staples pushing on, Staples working hard. He's got an 8-second gap at the moment. So this looks promising for Jack Staples, but this is a very flat section of course, these early sections of this race. We've got a slight bump at the moment, kicking to just under 2%, which is enabling Staples to push on. But look at that, the group are coming back very quickly, and not surprising to see that group completely reform shortly.
And if you are a rider who's new to the platform, who's not necessarily been out regularly racing on here, then knowing how the course works in qualification is really important, just as it is when you come in to the finals, or if you're going to ride the MyWhoosh Championship. And you know, talking about prize money just now, you're going to want to know how it's going to work when you're going to be able to go ride for that $1 million prize fund, because of course that's what's at stake for our riders in the championship.
Well, my recommendation to every rider, Matt, would be to take a look at the MyWhoosh website, because on the MyWhoosh website, on the events page, are the technical guide, the rule set, and frequently asked questions around the Sunday Race Club and other race formats. Now, that gives you all the latest up-to-date information that you need to know as a rider, but it's also really interesting for our viewers as well, because then it really becomes understanding what and how the tactics are being made up, because what these riders are trying to achieve.
Definitely, that does make a difference. Now, Jack Staples pushing on here, as Emma pointed out, and got a gap which is increasing, so he's holding that pace there. Now, if you were a good solo time trial rider and could ride at a pace, this would be a good tactic, particularly if you are a rider who knows that they are not going to go well on the climb.
Well, yes and no. Yes, it's a great tactic to time trial away from the group, and Staples is showing us really that. He's sat around 3.5 watts per kilo. He'll know his numbers, he'll know where he can sit. The group behind are now 14 seconds behind, and if Staples can keep that going, that's fantastic. But this is a really long course today. It's 45 kilometres, but with that 15k climb at the end. The category 1 winning time last time out on this course was 1 hour and 19 minutes. Now, time trialling for 1 hour and maybe 30 minutes for a category 3 rider is a very long time to hold your time trial pace and to manage that effort and not expect an attack from behind. Currently at the moment, Jack Staples has got his name all over the TV coverage, so doing a great job.
He is indeed, and he is all over that coverage, and we are looking forward to covering not just our Sunday Race Club, but our championships on the way through. Remember, those races coming up, we will be bringing you all of the action with the amazing team from MyWhoosh. And if you want to get in touch, don't forget, we love to hear about what you're up to. We would love to hear where you're training, what you're doing, what your goals are, whether that is for the MyWhoosh racing or whether it's for the championship.
Or indeed, if you are a regular viewer and you have a favourite rider, get in contact with us at Full Speed Events, or you can get in contact with me at Biking Emma on Instagram. Let us know who your favourite riders are and why.
Me? I'm my favourite rider. I'm rubbish. No, I'm not really, honest. I'm not that
Well,
bad.
I like a brave rider, and I like a brave rider who attacks. Now, Mark Dadson is normally that rider in category 3, always really early on the attack. Today, it is Jack Staples.
Yeah, he is on the attack here. Our category 4 riders are really motoring. Golbon, Suarez in here. In fact, 3 riders who have that gap, and they're on the ascent. They've done one of the dips and rises. They're on the climb back out of the dip at the moment. They are currently a long way down the road at 7.5 kilometres. Behind, just approaching the 5 kilometre marker, is category 3. Category 2 about to set off very shortly indeed, inside 2 minutes now, and our category 2 riders know that they have a big gap. It's 10 minutes separating the riders in category 3 and category 2, double the time distance between 3 and 4. So who has got the work to do in category number 2. Who is going to be taking it out? Let's have a look at the teams and at the riders. And great to see that we've got the UAE Falcons and Fat and Furious as our teams here today, with Fat and Furious represented by Lomez. And of course, we can't forget Hamdan Al-Tanaji and Al-Remethri in the Falcons, but lots more riders who could challenge Emma.
Yeah, so 32 riders on the start sheets today in Category 2 wearing those green jerseys, and we do indeed have some great riders. Giuliano is in here, Kranich is in here, Simeo, Cadiz, Orego, Tom Gates is in here as well. So lots of really strong riders. I could keep going on because, again, this is one of those fields where we've got such strength and depth.
You could just read out the entire start list realistically, say any one of these riders really does have a chance of finishing in the top 10.
I reckon probably 15 of those riders on that start sheet today have an opportunity to finish in the top 5 to 10 riders.
Well, let's see who is going to be able to make the catch, who is going to be in the running for the top 5 positions, which are those which will garner prize money. Remember, of course, all of those results will be verified post-race. So here we go. This is our Category 2 riders.
So the power goes down, the riders are away. They're away on this Category 2 race on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club Qualifier Race number 2. They come out of the start pens, they cross the bridge, this wooden bridge transitioning them off. A beautiful start out of the start pens on this course. The riders need to not be looking at that beautiful view as they come over the water. They need to be pushing on those pedals and looking at the wheel in front of them. This group moving strongly across and well up to 40 kph within the first 30 seconds of racing. So a fast moving pack out of the start pen today.
And these riders really are rocketing on here. They are pushing like crazy, and that is a fast speed, as Emma said, within 30 seconds to move up to 40 kph. That's equivalent to 25 miles an hour. Now we are in with Tom Gates. Let's take a little bit of a look at the detail of Gates here. So Tom Gates revving his way around at nearly 90 revs per minute. We're just in with Caligula, who is doing a very similar rev range. So just flicking our way in between these riders. It allows us to focus on different riders on the way through here as they change. Good to see that Dromard is right up here. Now, Florian Dromard, another rider who I think is due a big top 10 finish, and definitely a number of new riders in here who maybe are new to newer viewers, but I'm definitely recognizing a number of people also jumping back in onto the platform. But as we said, they've got to focus on the racing now. It is a refreshed world. The graphics are absolutely astounding on the MyWhoosh world in Arabia, but it's about being able to race without distraction and really put that power down. If you've got the ability to look at the scenery whilst you're doing this kind of speed, we'll put you up a category. We'll put you in
well, I'll tell you what, why don't you head to mywhoosh.com and ride on the app and look at the scenery whilst training or whilst having a leisure or social ride, and then you can get your head down hard on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club, just as Eduardo Parisi is getting his head down hard and attacking. It's Dadson who's pushing on to try and close that gap with Nowak and Staples. Jack Staples being brought back in by this group, and another attack going straight over the top. So Parisi pushing on. 4 seconds back to Dadson, 5 seconds to Nowak. Gill 5 seconds back as well. So there's some action coming out of that group behind, because from the power coming out of the group, I don't think they want this to stick, but this attack is going in and going down hard. And
this is Category 3. Attacks going on the same place we saw Category 4 being really aggressive as well. It's a key point on the course. We say that this start is relatively flat. It is, but this is one of the key moments when you are making your way out of the dip. So you descend down, you're carrying momentum, you then go onto the climb, and you can see the damage that is being done by Parisi, by Phillips, who is now trying to come across the gap, and by Cusimano, who is chasing hard.
And this is a really innocuous section of course, Matt. You wouldn't look at a course profile like this and think, that's where the attack is going to go. But because of the big, long, flat start section, there are only a few opportunities for small ramps and small pushes before you get into the latter half of the race.
Well, let's see if that's replicated by Category 1, whether they've been paying attention to the notes. Our notes here are copious. We have more sheets of paper in here than the average library, stapled all over the studio walls, stuck to everything that we can, because we want to be bringing you the details of our categories and our riders. So our Category 1 riders, the next of our notes we're going to be consulting, the next of our riders we should be bringing to you, because our Category 1 are our final race starters here today. So let's dive in with those riders and with our teams in there. And these riders all lined up in yellow. We've got more teams represented in here, because we have with us the UAE clan team, Italian Gelato. We have Riccolo powered by Coach. We have Beast Mode powered by Rose. We have the Belgian Waffles squad as well. They're 5 of the key squads here, but they're not the only teams by any stretch of the imagination, because we have On the Rivet, as well as the Yorkshire Pudding Express, OTR, and the Next powered by Insured, or Next PB Insured, depending on which way you want to say it. Is Next powered by Insured, believe me, as we go through. And very strong teams, strong riders, and a big race field, Emma.
Massive race field today, 85 riders on that start field, on that start line, and we are seeing that countdown already underway.
So here on Qualifier Race number 2, our final race field. This is our Category 1 riders set off on to the course, heading away from the pens across the boardwalk and heading out for 45 kilometers. They have 3 categories away in front of them. They have a head start of 20 minutes to pull back on Category 4. Can they do that? Who will come out in top spot? Who will be taking away our prize money here on the Sunday Race Club?
Well, what a fast and furious start we're seeing from these category run riders. That went up to over 45 kph in less than half a second out of that start pen, and we're already seeing a stretch on that group as a Storger leads this group out. It's a huge race field today, and my question is, can anybody beat the duo of Knudsen and Safrazad, because they have been alternating the 1-2 for a few weeks now?
Well, if they're not the same person, because we have with us the one and only Michael Vink due to take to the start line. And I'll be honest, Michael Vink, Michael Nussen, have they ever actually been seen in the same room at the same time? Because they ride so similarly. They're very similar. I know, Vink is now part of the, the elite squad, but I'm not sure there is much difference between their riding styles. They seem to use the same tactics on the way through.
Well,
they ride very similarly, and their avatars also look the same. Will they be able to close down on Mitch Ferry, who is on a bit of a mission?
He is on a bit of a mission at the moment, and he's put in the early attack. So Mitch Ferry is the rider to first stretch the legs of this Category 1 race field. Now, I've seen Michael Knudsen in the on the screen and in the details on that bottom right-hand graphic. I haven't yet seen Michael Vink, so he might be on the start sheets. But the question is, was he on the start line?
Well, interesting to see. Just seeing Edward Hoolihan here from South Africa, just on the start line, one of our big names in the sport, as we see already. A big push here from Jean-Michel Lachance, who is trying to bridge across that gap. Vidal Mayer is in here. I've seen Zach Nair in the group as well. Van Haren has joined us this time around. It looks like Bart van den Eekhout is in the mix. But look at this bridge across here from Jean-Michel. He's absolutely pushing hard here to get across. He does not want to let anybody go down the road and not be part of it. And Mitch Ferry is going to get company at the moment. Lachance is really pushing on here. So Jean-Michel Lachance at the moment, the Canadian rider, is the man who is doing the work to get across the group. He's got a little bit more ground to make, but that group chasing him, it's a big one I can't imagine they're going to let these two go very far, Emma.
Well, Lachance took a top 20 in the National Road Race in Canada in 2022. He's closed the gap to Mitch Ferry and he's moving up onto that wheel. These two riders are now 7 seconds clear, and they're probably not two riders to let go too far down the road. And I can't imagine that pack behind, with the quality of that race field in that pack, will let them disappear this early in the race.
I can't imagine. And with this big pack, this is going to help some of the teams who traditionally have done a lot of the chasing. So teams like the UAE Clan team, they are not necessarily going to need to do as much chasing as they maybe have done traditionally. But as I say that, we've seen SS doing a little bit of work here to try and pull those two riders back, because you've got numbers. We've got big numbers. We've got big superstars. People like Fujas in here, Martin's in here, Paradian's in here. These aren't people who are scoring big all the way around the world of esports cycling. They are not just any rider. We've got people like Zach Nair in here. You know, Zanaska. They're riders who are at the very top of esports cycling in and racing. Now, speaking of the UAE Clan team, Mr. X100, their road captain, out on the course, mixed in David Talbot right on his heels. Talbot had a great ride last week in qualifier number 1. He was particularly aggressive, riding really strongly, and he's right alongside these riders. Mr. X100 sitting in this pack. He'll be making sure that team are doing what they need to keep control of this race. But our two escapees, well, they are well down the road, and I think that's probably going to be reflected when we come to the end of our first segment, which we've entered. So we have along the course the 7 segments. They are individual discrete segments, so they've got the time snapshot of the riders in that segment, and this is going to be really indicative. We have basically 2 leaders, Mitch Ferry and Jean-Michel Lachance, in the lead in category 1. We have a solo chaser with SS from the UAE Clan team closing them down, and then the chase is coming from Nuts.
And it had to be the UAE Clan team that did the chasing down here and closed the gap, because the UAE Clan team are the ones always with their minds on the matter. They are the ones with their minds on the racing, and they would not want this to go this early.
They're so experienced. I mean, they've got such strength in depth from their riders, and they've got riders who can do pretty much anything, whether that is pulling on the flat, whether it is using the momentum, using the course, or whether that is on the climb. So let's see what they've done on this segment. We have our first 3 riders in and through, and here we go. That is the results so far, and this is telling. Look at that. The UAE Clan team's fastest rider there is SS going in and through. But what you can see from that is that with Lachance and Ferry, they were moving the fastest in segment number 1. Then we've got a mix, because we've got Moreno, we've got Baltazar and Abello from category number 2. We've got Cardenas actually in the top 12 as well. But it is a mix of riders. So category 2 and category 1 bunches are moving at a similar speed, but the attack on the front by Ferry that was answered by Jean-Michel Lachance, who came up to him, and by SS, who has closed across during the course of that segment, have set the fastest time. Now, here is the catch. SS are just about to come on, and this is heading in through. Now, we're going to do a dip and the rise in a moment, and this will be very key. We're at 4.8, and it's this dip and rise that regularly separates the riders.
Yeah, well, it's interesting now, isn't it, as SS comes up onto the wheel of Lachance and Ferry, because we've now got 3 riders clear with a 12-second gap, and we are coming towards that dip and the small climb. But look at the size of that chasing pack. That chasing pack is huge. They are at 5 kilometers nearly now into this race, 40+ kph, and they are moving quickly. But it is now 150 meters down the road, this chase group, and SS has not quite made the back of that wheel, you know, of Lachance and Ferry. They are now motoring on that section, and this is going to be really interesting. Could a 3-man breakaway go clear and stay clear on this course?
No.
That was emphatic.
It was a one-word answer, wasn't it? No, but it can do a lot of damage. Let's qualify that statement. it can do a lot of damage, and I think that is really key here. I just seen on the front of the group Michael Kaminski just pushing on at the front of that big pack, and as Michael really pushed, you could see he was rolled over the top very quickly as the riders come through. You're now seeing SS battling to stay on that gap. It's holding at 13 to 14 seconds, and I can't imagine they're going to let that group go more than maybe 20 seconds down the road. That's in my head. If I've been racing, I don't know about you, Emma, 20, 30 seconds is acceptable when you've got a big bunch. Any more than that, yeah, not really, not very happy.
Well, do you know, they're still pushing on the front here, you know, and the big bunch behind are not doing the same power out of the ones on the front. So these guys are absolutely adamant they want to make this stick at the moment. So Ferry and Lachance really pushing on. SS still doing a little bit of chasing, not quite made that gap. But this big group now behind, picking up the pace somewhat, but not enough to make the catch.
And they're into this dip. They're on the descent. You can see top right hand side of your screen, as Emma explained earlier. We have our route details, 3.5% the descent here into the dip, but then we have the kick back out up to the crossroads at the top. That is where we have seen groups in categories 3 and in category 4 break clear. We've seen an earlier break this time from category 1, and the category 1 riders who are chasing now need to think about what they're going to do about the riders in front. So into the dip go the leaders. They've still got SS at a distance. SS needs to either get there, it's either put up or shut up time. He's got to get on the wheels or get off the power, because if he can't get on the wheels, he needs to be off the power and going back to the group. Riding solo is not the way to win a bike race on the course like this. No way on this earth are you going to want to do that as you've got this run in. Now the leaders are onto the climb. You can see this gradient is going to increase. Ferry, Lachance and SS are leading. I'm looking for the group behind, but they're still at about 15 seconds or so.
Well, I tell you, the rider who's on the lead of the group behind is Martins, and Martins is a rider on form, peaking for the Esports World Championships in February. He's still holding that form at the moment, and we've seen some fantastic riding from Martins, but Ferry and Lachance are the two riders out front. SS still not made the juncture yet, still 2 seconds the gap between the leading 2 and 3rd place. We've then got 13 seconds back to Knudsen. Knudsen now coming up and helping with Van Elst and Martins on the front of that group, trying to close this down now.
And they're putting about 20 to 30% more power out consistently behind than the riders in front. And that is bringing that gap down. They've almost half the time gap to the leading 3. But these 3 riders are about to take that left-hand turn. And look at the damage it's done. The chase has gone on. And on your left of your screen, we're seeing a string of riders, and it looks like Mr. X100 has been busy at the back of the group. He's been caught out. Stefan Proust at the moment is behind him, as well as Glez. This is a big moment. Mr. X100 distanced, and he's going to have to work back on.
Yeah, and that's one of the challenges of such a big, large pack, because you can't see all the data from everybody, and you cannot see what is going on in a group that size. You know, if you've got a group of between 7 and 15, you can roughly tell what's going on, and you can keep your eye on the action. You getting caught out here with a group this big is a really dangerous moment in the race, but X100 responding well with Glez there, moving on. It's Proust that's the rider that's out the back now, and that is surprising this early on in the race, Matt.
Indeed, Stefan Proust absolutely class on wheels at the moment. I think there was a large number of riders who on that descent and climb were busy. Early part of the race, it's very easy to be trying to make sure you refuel, hydrate, make sure that you're all stocked up. Choosing your moment is key, and of course all the other riders know when you're likely to do that, so that's the prime moment to attack on the way through. No designated feed zones like you'd find on the road, for example, or on a mountain bike race. And with the power and the pace here, I think we're going to see a very quick race. To see this big bunch strung out this early with gaps going again, another gap has opened behind the riders here. We're in with Che Howalia as he goes through. Stasinski not all that far off the wheels here. They are going to stay with this leading group, but behind them we've seen a big gap open up now. This is reflected as they come through. Jeff Muse of the On the Rivet squad goes through with the fastest time. Michael Kaminsky of the Ricola squad in the second place. That is David Down, followed by Hull, followed by Martins, Harburg, Bjorklund, Safrazad, Utkin, Paradies, Knudsen, and Nair. But there is nothing to choose. There is less than 0.4 of a second separating the top 12 because the rivet is well and truly being sat on by Muse. On the rivet, the phrase, for those of you that don't know, is absolutely, it's also known as chewing the stem. It's known as
eyeballs out.
Eyeballs out. It is known as giving it full gas. You are on the rivet. It comes from the old leather saddles were riveted onto a metal frame, and the rivet at the front, when you were trying hard, you pull yourself forward onto the front of the saddle and you were sat
on the rivet.
On the rivet. There you go. Cycling history, courtesy of Matt Payne. I'm old enough to remember I did have a leather saddle when I first started riding. It's true. It is.
There
I had a Brooks saddle.
Oh, no, you
Thank
can't
goodness
beat one
this
of
lot
those.
are not on a Brooks saddle today. They are racing all modern kit, and we are in a very different world from Brooks saddles to esports. But you know what? Our riders, they still got to produce the goods, and it is definitely all about the rider. It's not all about the bike, because if you are class, you are class, whatever you're riding. We've seen a fantastic performance being put down. I think the gap down from Dylan Stiven just in front to Eckersley was about 40 seconds or so there. And this is a big pack of riders in category 3. They're really pushing on. And Demanchuan at the moment with currently the fastest time on segment 4 in the house.
Yeah, so segment number 4, a 2.5 kilometre segment. And as you mentioned, Matt, these riders already gone down that through that segment, because these riders are at 17.43 kilometres. Our category 1 pack are at 10.08. So 7 kilometres separating category 1 to category 3. Even further down the road, 18.9 coming up for is our category 4 pack, and that is the lead group on the road today. So over 8 kilometres separating our category 1 pack with the lead on the road, our category 4 pack.
And as you can see, all 4 screens showing our 4 leading groups. In theory, by the end of the day, it will be category 1 who are our fastest riders in the yellow. This group not stretched out. It is very much a bunch, a blob, a pack. It is not a long, strung out pace line. It is not a group that is under as much pressure. It's not stringing out at all at the moment. And that is because we've seen a lot of aggression, but we're on a descent now. As we come over the top of that little rise, we are very much in undulating ground. Remember, we have one kicker, one ascent that comes in before we hit the main climb, and that is going to come in. We've got to go well over half race distance before we hit that point, and that is a little way down the road. So through the next segment and come the category 1 riders, and they have completed 11k, which means they're at the end of segment number 3. Van Haren coming through ahead of Simmons, then Kaminsky, SS Mayer, Spratt, Gles, Bjarhead, Dan, Panitza, Martins, and Van Els. But Van Haren at the moment is the rider who led them through. But again, very little to choose between the riders, a little bit more this time, and that is reflected because we saw riders coming from a group behind into one big bunch. So from being strung out into a bunch means that there are faster times from the people at the back of the group to come into the middle of the group than there would have been by somebody going clear. At the moment, for me, the big takeaway here is that we're seeing lots of low numbers on the right-hand side of your screen. Heart rates at the moment for a category 1 rider pretty low, Emma.
They are indeed, but one of the takeaways for me, Matt, is going through that segment gives an indication that there are 33 riders in this lead group in this category 1 race. So 85 starters on the start sheets, 33 riders in this lead pack. So a huge lead pack, and I'm loving the fact that we've got a real mix of names in here, Matt. We've got some riders who have been with the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club for I'll put my teeth in, a significant period of time, but we've also got some brand new riders in here and riders who have joined us recently. So Talbot is in here, first race with us last weekend, but we've got Knudsen, Vujasin, X100 who have been with us some time. But looking through here, Stozinski is a new rider in here. So great to see new riders joining the Sunday Race Club.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we talk about riders being here for a long time, I mean, I remember riding with SS and Mr. X100 a year ago on the platform, pretty much out and riding very early days. Very different Arabia then in terms of graphics as well. And the performance of them was absolutely astounding then, as it is now.
Yeah, and we've also got a mix of age ranges in this group as well. So there is always something for everyone, because some of our riders in here are under 23 squads, some of them are elite squads, some of them are veteran and masters riders as well. So a real mix, and a real mix of age range, countries, abilities, you know, all coming together on the Sunday Race Club.
So we're seeing our category 1, our top end of those categories, leading the way through in that category, this big bunch. We've got category 1 in yellow, category 2 in green, category 3 in blue, and category 4 in the red, all out on the course, separated of course by those split starts with a 20-minute time difference initially. We will see whether or not that time gaps have all come down between the leaders of category 1 and category 4. In fact, whether they all come up to the top of the climb at the same point. Now, we had seen a big push on at the very front of this group, and at the moment we're just seeing another move starting to be made. So the riders continue to push here. We'd seen Ferry on the offensive. The 3 riders got pulled back on the climb. Now it's Van Elst, Mitch Ferry again, Vida Mer, King Kaminsky, but the chase is on behind. But look at this, Stefan Van Elst really starting to push on. And Stefan Van Elst, another rider who's been riding strongly across on the esports platforms. I'll tell you something, he's a rider who is due a big win here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. He can't be far away from actually taking a win, because he's there or thereabouts all the time.
Well, you know, the strength and depth and the quality of this field, Matt, is absolutely outstanding and interesting to see. It was Safrasad and Knudsen who were covering the move. Popovic is up there as well. So the UAE clan team are well and truly monitoring the front of this race field. But Van Elst, I agree with you, you know, riding really, really strongly at the moment. Van Eckhout is in there as well. So as we mentioned, and we keep mentioning, the class of the riders in this category race field is just getting stronger and stronger.
And of course, Van den Eekhout and Van Elst are both members of the same team as Lionel Vujasin and Martin Martins. I mean, if you had to pick 4 strong riders, they'd definitely be a class pick, wouldn't they? The Belgian Waffle squad have been incredibly strong. And although there are no team prizes, there is still a team category, and you can get all of those results on the MyWhoosh.com website.
Well, you're right, Matt. The Belgian Waffles took second place in the team category in the February final behind the UAE clan team. And, you know, always riders to mix it up.
They are always riders to mix it up, but we see this with all of the squads. And riding as a squad, even when there's no prizes, is really important. It does help on the way through, and we are seeing strong squads.
Teamwork is dreamwork.
Teamwork is dreamwork. I dream of a team.
I'm not sure who's going to be on Matt's team, but interesting to see. We've got category 3 now coming onto the back of category 4, and at the front of the category 3 pack is Mark Dadson. So Dadson, one of our riders who's always making the action in our category 3 race, coming through and leading that category 3 pack through the back end of this category 4 race field. Now, there was only a 5-minute difference between the start times of category 4 and category 3, and we are over 21 kilometers now into this category 3 race, and at this point they have made the juncture onto this category 4 pack. Now, the leading breakaway in the category 4 pack is about 2 minutes down the road, so still some work for our category 3 pack to do to catch the front of the category 4 race and be leaders on the road today.
I think that's a really good point there, Emma. And they've got to make the way back up there. I'll tell you something, Mark Dadson, I want to see Mark Dadson on social media with a t-shirt saying, you know, like the dictionary definition. So it says, you know, dictionary definition of something is noun, blah, 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 means such and such. It's going to say Dadson. Adjective. To attack from the word go without any regard of what happens afterwards. Because I tell you something, Dadson is definitely equal to that. Or it could be like a mass calculation, always on the offensive. I really love aggressive racing, I have to say that. Mark Dadson, he can be on my team. Definitely. Might not win, but he's going to give it a go and keep people entertained. That's great.
I do like a T-shirt made after a rider.
Named after with the riders, and the characteristics.
Come on, a little catchy thing.
Yeah, make sure you send it the pictures of the new T-shirts to at Biking Emma and at Fix a Pain on the way through, and we will
happy to wear on broadcast.
Yeah, we will retweet any pictures or Instagram them, or whatever the kids do these days with social media. I'm old enough to be able to pass those duties on, thank goodness, these days, and concentrate on the racing. So 4 categories all out on their own. But Dadson, here he is. Well, that jersey, it says category 3 on it. It doesn't say anything else at the moment. It should say goes for it once again. He's got Caleb Ochoa chasing now, and it's Ochoa who's leading the pack. Heath Eckersley in the wheels at the moment of Ochoa, and Ochoa is really working hard now. With all our riders motoring, the segment number 4 has been rattled through. That is between 13.5 and 16 kilometres, 2.5k long. Emma, just take us through some of the stats here. No surprises to see it's all category 1, or maybe it is, because that's not always the case. I think category 1 racing very quick today.
Yeah, category 1 racing is very quick today, and we're still seeing a huge number of riders, 33 riders still in this pack at segment number 4. So SS coming through with the fastest time in 3 minutes 35, and we're seeing the rest of that category 1 pack of 33 riders coming through all together with a very short period of time between them, and the category 2 pack 28 seconds behind.
So on that 2.5k, let's reiterate this, the 2.5k segment, there was a gap of how many seconds between category 1 and category 2?
28.
8 seconds speed difference, time difference through that 2.5k. That is substantial, and it's indicative that the category 1 race has gone from the gun, and that is also shown by the numbers that you can see on your screen. That pack of 33 riders may be together, but we are seeing repeated attacks. We are seeing it being answered, and when they are riding together, they are not hanging around. These riders are still traveling well over 20 miles an hour, well over 30 kilometers an hour in all terrain. That speed picking up to 60 plus kph on the descents, and not slowing down very much on the ascents as well. So category 1 in down. Category 2, the riders in front are about 2 kilometers down the road by my mass. So this is why we have Emma, because her mass is far better than mine. So as well as the fact she's a experienced rider, a director sportif of esports team for the Aeonian squad, as well, of course, as being very experienced as watching far too much bike racing. It's part of the homework. You can't
watch far too much bike racing. You know, mix it up. Watch some esports, watch some road, watch some track, watch some MTB. You know, even a little BMX Parkland. Why not?
Oh, well, yeah, I've got to say I'm very fortunate to be in the position where, after years and years of doing this, decades of being on the microphone, able to put words to the action for the UCI, the world governing body, at lots of different world championships, from the BMX flatland, from the park and the urban, right the way through to downhill mountain bike, and of course looking forward to many more of those coming up this season. But we are here on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club at the moment, and we are seeing our category 2 riders, world-class riders here in action, up against the best of the rest, as now we're seeing another world-class rider, a rider
Van Elst again.
It's Stefan Van Elst. It is which squad? The Belgian Waffle squad. They are on the move again. I tell you something, what fuel do you eat to attack the most?
Oh, whenever you're riding in Europe, it's waffles.
It's got to be waffles.
Sugared ones.
Sugared waffles, definitely. I am just like dreaming of sugared waffles. You can tell I'm hungry. We got out very early in the morning, and breakfast is going by in a
I'd be
blur.
careful we don't get up as early as some of our competitors in the USA.
No,
on the continent over there,
the riders
some of them
over
are
there.
riding at 4 a.m. in the morning.
Yep. So there's a massive spread, as you'd expect on a global sport and on a global platform like MyWhoosh. And if you want to come and join us, if you think you can take on Zach Nair, says Michael Kidd in here, Bart Van Den Eekhout and co, you can take on the UAE clan team, then please do join us. Jump onto the MyWhoosh.com website. Make sure, of course, you're following on social media. It's at MyWhoosh on Insta, on Facebook, my_whoosh on Twitter, and don't forget, of course, the website www.mywhoosh.com.
Now, Matt, one of the riders I'm really keen and pleased to see in this group is Nicholas Spratt. So for those of you who have been with us some time, you'll have seen Spratt racing in the Category 2 race field and making the action and making the racing in that race field. Progressed to Category 1 due to his progression in the racing and doing really well today, Matt, this in this lead pack.
Yeah, just seeing Florian Dromard jumping into that lead pack, just being caught. A Category 2 rider looking to catch a lift. Meanwhile, this is Category 3 and 4 together here, and it's Eduardo Parisi in the blue of Category 3 who has caught the leaders in Category 4. He's now the blue locomotive at the head of the red train behind, and he is now going to be putting the pressure on, and this is where the riders will try and use the impetus of Parisi as well as the draft to break that group behind and put the pressure on their fellow Category 4 riders.
Well, really interesting. Matt, Parisi was our winner last week on the Australian Wollongong route, a very, very different route to the one we are on today in Arabia. So great to see Parisi putting the attack in and going out and looking for a win on a different route today.
So our Category 3 and 4 leaders together at the very front of the course. They're the furthest riders down the course. They are currently on the climb that precedes the final climb. So the penultimate climb, it goes up through the glass tunnels and then it will descend out from the other side very quickly, and then it transitions quite fast into the final climb. The Category 1 riders, they're chasing Category 2, sandwiched between the two sets of leaders, and the Category 2 leaders at the moment in front of our riders here. They are catching back ones and twos. You can see Florian Dromard hitching a lift in there, and our Category 2 leaders on the right hand side of your screen, they are currently 2 kilometers, even my mask can work this one out, 2k further down the road than our Category 1 leaders.
Now, that tells me, Matt, that our Category 2 race has been pushing on, because it was less than 2 kilometres last time we checked in on this time distance. So either our Category 1 riders have sat up a little bit, or our Category 2 riders starting to come into the back of Category 3 are the riders pushing on.
Well, I think that is about Category 1 easing off. We've seen a bunch less aggression. The early attacks have diminished somewhat. So that would be my view. What about you, Emma? Which do you think that is?
Well, I think it's probably a bit of a mix of both, actually, Matt.
There you go. Don't sit on the fence, will you? Just say it's both. It's easy cover. Right. We're going to go and take a look at the action now. Just watching this is a really interesting move going on here. We are starting to see groups just forming in here a little bit further back from our main pack. The main pack we've been focused on, of course, containing a lot of the favourites, but not all of our favourites, because I'm sure I've just seen Phil Graves a little bit further back down the road, a rider who we know can be further up the race field. But as we've talked about previously, being on form is impossible to hold all the way through, and these riders as well are going to be training at different times with different objectives.
Yes, and I think I've noticed this week that Phil Graves has taken an opportunity to have a week's training somewhere slightly warmer than his normal place of training, which is good planning this week given the weather in Yorkshire.
Yes, he is a Yorkshire pudding. No, it's not a term of endearment, or neither is it derogatory. That is his team name. But
I understand in South Yorkshire this week in the UK they've had 15 inches of snow overnight,
which is about 45 centimetres of.
Well, I'll leave you to work that one out.
Yeah, it's about 40. It's about 40. About 40 centimetres of snow. But that's the great thing about MyWhoosh. We've got riders racing in the desert. We've got riders in 40-degree heat. We've got riders in sub-zero temperatures. You've got people racing at home because they can't go out and ride the bike. We've got people racing because they choose not to go out and ride the bike, and quite rightly so. It is becoming. It's a discipline in its own right, and its own specialists in there. And it's great to see people from other disciplines coming in and mixing. We've got Johan Noren. Noren, absolutely class on the mountain bike, comes out and rides on here. We're seeing that with a lot of the Swedish riders as well. We're in the depths of their winter at the moment. I think you probably need skis in Sweden if you wanted to actually go and be competitive outdoors. Maybe take part in some biathlon or similar.
Well, I was about to say, Matt,
you know, there are lots of different athletes, aren't there?
And there are indeed athletes who ski in the winter and mountain bike in the summer. But that is the absolute beauty of the esports platform. It allows riders from different disciplines, different backgrounds, and esports specialists to all come together and race. And it is fantastic to see that esports in itself is becoming a discipline of cycling, and we are seeing riders specialise in esports and are able to have their own world championships and also big prize money races.
Indeed, and of course they don't get any bigger in terms of prize money than the MyWhoosh Championships. Make sure you go on the website to have a look at that. We're going to be really watching that, and I'm sure we'll be seeing who's going to take that on now. Really quick a bit into the action here, because we saw Mr. X100 there keeping the pace high at 5 watts per kilo because he knew what was coming up. He knew that we were coming into this little bit of a rise. So we're going in, we've done a dip, we've now got this little bit of a rise back up again, and you are seeing a push coming on. Now, Mr. X100 preempted a big explosive kick by lifting the pace up there, and that has kept the group slightly more together, I think, by his actions there. And I think that might have been his tactic. By lifting the pace on the run into the climb, it takes some of the sting out of a explosive climbing attack.
Yeah, it does indeed. And interestingly, that explosive climbing attack was led by Mitch Ferry. Mitch Ferry, I think at the moment one of the most aggressive riders in this Category 1 race field, though you know, it's really interesting to see. I think there's a number of riders here so far, Matt, that we've not seen hide nor hair of. They are very well hidden in this pack, and I think those are some of the riders we are going to see to the fore in the climb.
Quite possibly so. Just watching Jean-Michel Lachance here, and Lachance riding in with this group once again. He's sat in the pack, he's in the right place. You can't hide too much because you are in danger. When we saw it very early on in the race, didn't we? Where sitting further back, whilst it gives you the advantage of getting more draft, you are in trouble if a gap goes. And I think as we approach 24 kilometers of our 45K to cover, it's going to be really telling. Now look at this. This is very interesting. We lost SS from this group. He's been distanced from the group, so not going to be his day-to-day. Went and did a lot of work early on for the UAE clan team, and now we're on to this climb. Now this is the penultimate climb here. This is the one that comes in. This is a kick up before we go in to our final climb, and we will head into the tunnels. When we do so and we go into this climb, what we are finding is that as we go up this climb, we're going to see the attacks coming into it. It was Van Elst who went through the segment number 5, segment 5 from 20 to 24K, so a long segment ahead of everybody else, but not really a huge amount to separate these riders. But Van Elst on the front of the group going through at pace. So it's Van Elst for Jassin, Knudsen, Harburg, Tobbit, the top 5, followed by Martins, Paradians, Van den Eekhout, Safrazad, and Dan, rounding out the top 10 with Jeff Muse and Michael Kaminsky in 11th and 12th places. But all of those riders pretty much together, but that group is whittling down as we go into the tunnel. So this is the start of the long section inside the tunnels underwater as we make our way up here, and this ascent takes us up to the top. Further up the climb, you can see just in front of our riders, separated by what is going to be about 1.2 kilometers. This is the leading group in Category 2 on the right-hand side of your screen. You've got the leading group in Category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen, making the way up well.
Yeah, they are indeed. And that Category 1 pack now down to 31 riders. It's still a huge group of riders for this stage in the race today. And it's going to be interesting to see the tactics of the riders as we move into the latter stages. Now, still 20 kilometres to go in this race, Matt. And 15 of those are a hot category climb, which has got... let's just take a double check at this. 835 metres of climbing.
So the penultimate climb by no means comparable to the last one. This is a mere speed bump on the road in to our final climb, but it is enough of a speed bump to separate out those people who are not on form today, who are not able to climb with the best riders in the world. And this is where we will see a number of riders, I think, lose touch. I'd be very surprised to see 31 riders together. Now, this climb really does suit aggressive riders because at the top, the summit is a very brief summit. To transition across the top takes no time at all. Add into the fact that we are catching riders as well, it is going to be prime time to put an attack in at the top of this climb to open a gap that you can then really extend as you go into the descent. So the pressure is on. Expect to see this group of Category 1 riders thin out. It will become more comet-like, so a ball at the front with a longer tail stretching out behind it. And I think that is what we're going to see. Then, as we get nearer to the summit, expect to see attacks, kicks. If they can drag clear half of these riders and leave ones and twos behind, that will be a big selection made. Will that be the case today? Who's going to be up there in that mix? Any suggestions, Emma? Who would you be looking to put in an early attack?
Well, today, an early attack versus who's going to be in the mix. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to take away from Safrazad and Knudsen. You know, Vujasin rode really strongly on this course last time too, and Popovic. Martins as well. Martins had a 5th place in the February final, you know, Matt, on this course. So those were the top 5. Now, they were also the top 5 in January final as well, but in a different order. So my question is anybody going to get in the way of those 5 riders? Zanaska dropped in there last week in the Wollongong course. It's going to be an interesting one. Those are the riders I would say have been on form the last 3 or 4 weeks.
So let's see if they are the riders who are going to push on. And we're starting to see a push here. We saw our Category 2 riders go over the summit on that split screen. We're back with Category 1, and there's a reason for that. That is because Michael Knudsen and Lionel Vujasin are pushing on now. They're at 7, nearly 8 watts per kilo here, and they are starting to stretch out these riders. We're coming up to the top of the climb now, and this is where if they can break a little bit of a move here, they could extend out. We are seeing riders drop off the back of the group, and it's going to be really interesting when we hit our next segment to see how many are left. But Knudsen has not been able to break this clear. He's got Vujasin at the moment on the front, kicking up to the top. They have a little way to go before they come through, and another big push by Knudsen. Now, this is where they could do a lot of damage very fast. Top of the climb, key tactical moment. Push now, break the riders, break off some off the back. They won't get on because they are in the minority. If you can go with a big group, bigger than the riders who have been splintered, you will go clear, even if that is 5 riders in your group and them in 1s and 2s behind. If they're in 10 behind, you need to have maybe 20 riders in that leading group to not get swelled up. But at the moment, it looks like nobody has had the power to break this completely clear. We are coming, and you can see the gradient leveling off here. Emma, we are going to come through and come underneath the banner here, and this is a pretty big pack as they start into this descent.
It's still a big pack, Matt, but there are a couple of riders who have been dropped off it through that climb and through that push on the front by Knudsen, but it's still a big group, you know, and I'm looking at that thinking they lost maybe 1 or 2 riders now. Looking like we've got 3 riders on the back there, just pushing on and just squeezing on the pedals, making sure they don't lose the back of that group. Absolutely important. You know, we've got really class riders in here. We've got Ferry in here, Panizza, Lachance, Van Elst, Harburg, Hall, Nair, Knudsen, X100, Vanden, Eckhout. I could just keep going. Talbot had a great ride last week, if we remember Talbot's ride last week too. So at the moment, this is still anybody's ride, and this is getting very close now to all coming down to that final climb.
It is, and we say that we're 18k out from the finish, but that final climb is a tough one. So this is basically descend out from the tunnels and go along a very short transitional section at the base and up onto the climb.
Yeah.
It's that fast. And once you hit that climb, the climb itself, for me, the key moment is actually the instant you hit that climb, because the very start of the climb is very, very steep indeed. That is a key moment for our riders, because if you've got the power to go early, you will break a lot of riders off. It then becomes a long grind to the top with steeper sections up near the top as well.
Yeah, and it does depend what time of climbing you are, whether you have an amazing short 1 minute power and you can put an attack in, or whether you're more of a time trialer. We've seen X100 from the UAE clan team time trial his way up these climbs at the end of these races, almost ignorant of what everybody else is doing around him, because he knows that's his best way of getting the best time up that climb. If he ignores what everybody else is doing and just sticks to what he knows he can do, often it gives him a fantastic result, because the others are playing around with each other. They're playing cat and mouse, and they are watching each other, not watching what they can do.
And they're responding to other people's attacks and momentum, and they're having to not ride at necessarily their own pace. And that is very, very hard, and that is very a difference. Now, let's take a little bit of a look down at our riders here. Category 3 Parisi has caught and passed Category 4 leader Michael Suarez. They are the riders on the left and right hand side of your screens, but there's not a lot separating them on the road at the moment. They're both on the big climb. Meanwhile, Category 2 are fast approaching it. They are in front of Category 1, but at the moment we have 1 kilometre, 1,000 metres or so separating the riders between Category 2 and Category 1. So 2 approaching the base of the climb, 1 a little way out. They've still got a little bit of a minuscule bump to go over, and Mr. X100 now pushing on here. I think he wants to get some early pressure on these riders on this transitional section, because he's gone on the attack here. That is it's not a race when you move, but I tell you something, this is designed to provoke. You do not put out 6 watts per kilo, as we saw, without looking to get a response from behind.
Wow.
And at the moment, he's really motoring.
Who wants to take 30 riders into the bottom of the climb?
No,
Much better to take 15, even 20 riders in than 30. And I think X100 here is now stretching and putting his intentions down and saying, you know what, we need to start racing now, guys. And we've seen X100, as we just mentioned, time trial his way to the finish and time trial his way up a climb. He knows exactly what he's doing. Class rider. His heart rate sat at 151. This is more than manageable for him. Zanaska's at 138, so still very comfortable in that pack.
And I don't think it was any coincidence that it was almost exactly as we hit 30k with 15k to go that we saw him go. He will know he can do these 15k. This is one of the important things about riding and racing regularly on the platform, is that as you come into this roundabout, I need to kick up 15k. I can do this in X amount of time, and I can sit at that amount of time on my limit. And that is what I think he's done. Now, we've taken that right-hand turn. We're going to come through the end of that segment. We have our lone leader in Category 1, Mr. X100 from the UAE clan team up in front, and he should be the man at the top. Indeed, he is, of our standings. And it also shows you that he went through that segment due to the virtue of that attack 7.5 seconds faster than Mitch Ferry of the Yorkshire Pudding Express. Behind you can see all the rest of the riders very close indeed, but it's Mr. X100 from the UAE clan team leading this group out. Let's have a look at how big this pack is. Emma's on the numbers. How many have we got left there, Emma?
27 riders still in this pack. And you know what, Matt? The rider number 28th quickest through, Mark Dadson.
Well, go on, Mark Dadson, absolutely flying on the way into the climb. Can he hold it? We will see. Now, Mr. X100 up on to the climb. He's setting his marker out. You can see this is the first section, and it's going to level off here behind him. It's 9 seconds, and it's David Talbot who's leading the chase behind. So it's Talbot who's leading the pack, sandwiched in between Carlos just being passed on the way through. Carlos Esteban. Then in Moises Balthazar, the riders in Category 2 who are seeing the leaders from Category 1. And that lead is with Mr. X100. The UAE Clan Team rider is putting a pace down. But look at what's happened behind. It is not a bunch anymore.
It's like a massive accordion has been attacked, Matt, and the notes are coming out and it's been stretched to its fullest. Look at that Category 1 pack on the top right-hand side corner of your screen. It is stretched all the way down that road, and this push is coming from X100. Talbot is pushing on too. Kaminsky is there. Knudsen's and Martins is there as well. But they are all coming back together. They're losing 1, 2s and 3s off the back, but the front of this group are so well matched at the moment.
And it leveled slightly there. You have that slight pause in gradient. It allows the riders to get some momentum in. But David Talbot now attacking again. He's gone on to the front. He closed down Mr. X100. He's attacked off the front again. He's got the power down, and he's looking to really put the pressure on here. The response coming. Safazad, Knudsen, Paradians, Kaminsky. Zach Nair is right on there. It's Zach Nair. Is today going to be Nair's day to take the win?
He keeps coming and he keeps coming, and one day he's going to have a top 3 because he's been very close.
One day he's going to get that win, surely. I
don't disagree, but I think there's a number of riders lining up for a win in this pack at the moment, and over the next few weeks it's going to be great racing. So keep your eyes peeled, not just in this Category 1 pack, but across 2, 3 and 4. But we're seeing some outstanding racing from these Category 1 men today. X100 is in that pack. Utkin is in there. Hull is in there. Lachance is in there. Popovic is in there. Kaminsky, Nair, Talbot, Vujasin. It is just name after name after name in the world of esports and esports racing.
So as we come up on to the climb, Emma, we came into this climb with how many people in that chasing group?
We came into this climb, Matt, with 27 riders in this Category 1 pack.
That's not 27 riders now. There's been quite a number distance in Category 1. We're going to have Emma doing a quick count up whilst we look across to the right-hand side of your screens. That's Ryan Giuliano. So Giuliano at the moment is leading in Category 2. He's moved himself up into what is 19th place in the ride overall. He's trying to close down on Category 4 and 3 leaders. They're all being chased by the Category 1 riders who are on your screen at the moment. Emma, have you managed to get a number of who is left in there?
I am going to say it is approximately 18.
How many?
18.
From?
27.
Ouch. That is pain. That is pain and suffering all the way up that first section of climb. That is 9 riders whose legs and lungs have said, we're not going anymore with this group. We are going to have to ride at our pace, not at the pace which initially was David Talbot and Mr. X100, the 2 protagonists who took us on to the climb and have taken us up. But this group has come together, and as we say that, another move has gone. That's Talbot who's gone off down the road. We're following Michael Knudsen, who is in this pack, who has been very quiet so far.
Yeah, he's been quiet so far, but this is a dangerous part of the race, you know, Matt, and it's dangerous not because of the climb, but because of the fact they are coming onto back markers now from the races above them, and it is going to be constant now on this climb, and this makes it messy, and this makes you really need to think about your tactics and your positioning as we constantly see catches being made.
And each time we catch your rider, irrespective of what speed, there is draft to be had. There is that carrot and chase effect going on as well. There's confusion as the rider's going through. And now Michael Knudsen has gone up the road with David Talbot. The pair of them are looking to try and use this catch of riders and the gradient as they come in and around to try and do some more damage to take it down from 18. Remember, top 5 riders in each category take away prize money. Everybody looking to get a very, very, very important race experience here of how the race dynamics play out. And that is what you're seeing on your screens in front of you. We have seen the group come together. We've seen it break up. But now our camera angle here, perfect camera angle to show you what happens. You can see the move by Knudsen. He's seen the group. He's attacking because he now picks up the draft from these riders. They're moving at speed, and he is going through this pack. He's using the draft and the lower gradient to put the hammer down, and this is going to cause carnage behind.
Phenomenal tactics from Knudsen, but we would expect that. But he's pushed on and he's pushed on hard. And this Category 2 pack now desperately trying to scrabble to get in with this Category 1 group of riders. It's going to work while the gradient is sub 3, but we're now kicking up over 5. They're going to find this really difficult to stay in this group as Safrazad is the rider pushing on now. Talbot is in there. Vujasin has come to the front. So has Zanaska. Martins is there as well. Now, this is a continual push and a grunt and a hard effort up this climb.
And this is where we can see Category 2 riders trying to get in and get on with that pack of Category 1 riders. Ryan Giuliano is leading in Category 2. He's 7 seconds on Jose Oviedo. However, we have got Category 2 riders in with the Category 1 pack, and they are closing down. That is bringing the whole thing, it's compressing together.
There is still 10 kilometres to go.
Shh, don't say that. Don't tell me this 10K. We can't get this, cannot keep at this pace, surely, for another 10 kilometers of racing, because it is absolutely frantic. Our Category 1 leaders are up into the top 20 already with 10k left to go. They are closing down on to the lead of the Category 2, and in fact I think that is going to be Giuliano who is working his way through. Kaminsky now showing his nose up at the front of the riders. They continue to push. There on the left-hand side of your screen, on the right-hand side of your screen, Eduardo Parisi is the leader on the road. But you can see 1 hour and nearly 9 minutes on the clock for Parisi, 54 minutes on the clock for Mr. X100. And that is because of that staggered start. The difference on the road, though, is less than 2 kilometers from Eduardo Parisi, our leader on the road, our leading Category 3. He's ahead of all of the rest of the riders, but the pack led by the Category 1 leaders are closing faster. And look at the speed difference. They've just gone past Noack at the moment, and Noack looks like the brakes are on at the moment as this climb takes effect. We are at 6% or so climb. We're in with Said Safrazad of the UAE clan team. He's got Hull behind him, Popovic and Naska. They are queuing up to have a go on the way through. But this is the Category 2 leaders who are together. Giuliano and Abello, who are up the road, have managed to just about hang on to the heels of the riders here. Then Kranic and Tortoretto are being distanced by the pace, but Talbot now goes up again.
Yeah, and Talbot's pushing. Martins is there, Safrazad is there, and Knudsen. It was SS who was being distanced off the back of that group, Matt. So riders we would expect to be in the pack not being able to stay with this pace, because these attacks just keep coming on the front of this group. Knudsen and Talbot pushing on, Safrazad closing the gap. Nair is in there as well, closing this down to ensure that these riders don't go too far off the front.
Well, that pack coming back together all over the road at the moment. There is nothing to choose between the world-class riders leading this race field up. You can see the height gain from sea level behind them. It's not all that long ago they were racing alongside the shoreline. They're now on the climb up here, and again another push. The gradient goes up. Talbot goes on the offensive, and is this profile with this climbing finish going to suit Talbot more than we saw last week? He put a great ride in last week, but remember, the climbs were 3k at a time. They were not a big 15k climb, and Knudsen is having to have his wits about him, as is Safrazad. Remember, these two with history on this mountain, as has Pablo Popovic and Mr. X100. And in terms of our riders who could take the win, will any of this group have a chance? A little bit further down, Jean-Michel Lachance is just in a little bit of trouble. I think he's having to continue to push here to stay in contention. And I think the elastic has snapped. Just looking at those distances, it's only 400 meters, but that's a long way on this climb.
It is, and he's got Panizza for company there as well. So riders starting to be shed out of this pack. We started with 27 at the bottom of this climb. We've gone to 19, to 18, to 14. We've got Knudsen and Talbot continuing to push. Paradians is there as well. Nair and Talbot and Safrazad. These riders with Zanaska too, pushing on the front here. Popovic is still in this group. Now, Popovic is a really strong climber as well, Matt. Kaminsky is in there now. I think this is Kaminsky's first race on the Sunday Race Club, and I think he's riding really well. But it's Martin Martins, the rider we said has been on form through February and into March, who's now pushing on the front.
He put an attack in at 8 watts per kilo there. And is he the rider who is going to take our pack down to single digits? You heard those numbers from Emma. She was telling you exactly how many we had lost. We've lost even more, I think, because of that move by Martins, and it's a response from Michael Knudsen. So Michael Knudsen, Martin Martins, Zach Nair has seen the danger. Zach Nair has come across as well. And you can see, say, Safrazad, he didn't want to be late to the party. He went over the top of them like they were stood still. Nobody wants to be at the back of the group here. Nobody wants to get caught out. Everybody is climbing well. We still have, let's remind you, 9K nearly to the summit. There is plenty of time for them to knock chunks off each other on the way up, to knock out riders off this group. They are absolutely motoring. So at the moment, we are currently at 36 kilometers, and we're about to come into our final segment. I tell you something, as they come into this segment, this group is motoring.
I can't believe there's still 8.5 kilometres of this climb to go. We have seen so much action already on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. This final climb has just laid it before us, and it just continues to give.
It does indeed. I'll tell you something, the Jebel Hafid, the climb that keeps on giving, we saw that in the UAE men's and women's tour. It's a fantastic climb. Make sure you go watch that footage back. Look at the amazing scenery our riders go through together, and then what must be one of the bucket list climbs for every climber out there, every rider out there. Find the right gear, find the company, and get riding. Now, you can see on your screens, Category 1 leading group on the top left, Category 2 on the top right of your screen. In fact, I think that is going to be Ospina, who we are in and following. Then left-hand bottom screen, that is Parisi, the leader of the Category 3. The chasers in Category 3 and the leaders of Category 4, bottom right-hand side of your screen. And there is less than 300 metres separating the chasers and the leaders.
Now, interesting, in that Category 2 race, we've got Torrento out in the lead with 2 chasers. Ossi Vado and Ospina are chasing in that race. So that Category 2 race not decided yet, unlike the lone leader in that Category 3 race, potentially able to stay away.
You say that's decided. I don't think that is. I can say, oh, there's less than 300 metres behind, and there are chasers, and they've got bodies, and there are people that they can use on the way through. Category 1, they've got the most people to go after, but they are so having to stay focused on the front of this race. And again, look at Talbot. He's had another dig on the front, and now there's another move over the top as well. These riders are absolutely nailing this climb. They are really putting the hammer down. They are not leaving anything out of the armory. They're throwing at the riders absolutely everything they've got. Who's going to run out of firepower first? I think we are going to see that. You cannot keep on going at this pace on this climb without some of these riders letting go and having problems. And is this the critical moment now? Now, I think we see Knudsen on the move at the front of this group. The chase is on behind him, and again it's getting strung out. Look at the response here. You can just see the riders being strung out. You can't afford to be distanced. We're riding in with Mr. X100. He's riding in what is about 7th or 8th wheel by my guessing, as Zach Nair has gone over the top of Knudsen. Now Zach Nair is pushing. Zach Nair is an absolute star, and I'll tell you something, he's a data master. Emma will be studying his power data analysis after this race as like there is no tomorrow. And Nair answers the counter-attack by saying Safrazadi goes onto the wheels here. Are we going to see him come through? But look at this, say Safrazadi knows they're catching riders. Dadson, Kalangad, the way through are being passed here. So as they go over the top of Kalangad and Dadson, it is going to be a little bit more of that carnage. The riders being overtaken, coming through that pack. They are continuing to push on this climb.
Well, talk about needing your wits about you. This pack need their wits about them at the moment because the attacks and the pushes keep coming on the front. The riders, they keep passing and catching and going through. You know, it is coming at you from all sides, this climb, and you got to keep your head down and you got to keep working.
Well, just taking a check across our Category 1 left-hand side, but look at Category 3 on the right-hand side here. They are continuing to push, and you can see that they have gone in and through Acevedo, I think it is, from Category 4. Just going to get a double check on the way through. There are so many of these riders being caught and passed, but back with Category 1 once again. And Edward Hull here, he's really pushing. You know what? We are seeing a real mix of new faces as well as old on the very front of the race. We say that in terms of the MyWhoosh platform, but these riders, very, very experienced riders and absolutely on the top of their game.
World-class riders in this pack at the moment, Matt, whether they are esports specialists, road riders or mountain bikers in their other worlds, it does not matter. They are absolutely showing us everything they've got, and they are showing us the best of competitive esports racing at the moment on this climb on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club. Zanaska is in here, Talbot, Nair, Knudsen, Martins, Kaminsky, Hull, Safrazad. You know, these riders just digging in hard. They've still got 6.2 kilometers left to race.
So they've got 6.2k and they are coming up. You can see Demanuan and this group of chasers behind Eduardo Parisi are just in front. It's only about 100 meters separating the Category 1 riders, leaders, and Demanuan, who is a chaser in Category number 3. And it's Parisi who is leading this race out. He's currently approaching, let's just say this, the 40k marker of a 45-kilometer race. We've got 5k to go for Parisi. He's not yet been caught by the Category 1 leaders, but they are chasing, and I think they can see his tyre tracks in the sand as they come up this mountain. It will be in the melting tarmac in the heat of the Jebel Hafid as they come up here, because look at this. Agudelo is going to be the next rider to see this express train of Category 1 riders coming past.
Well, Agudelo is indeed going to see that Category 1 pack next, but he's pushing on and he's heard you. He's going, I am not going to be the next rider caught. I'm going to push on. And Agudelo pushes on past the rest of that pack of Category 3 and Category 4 riders, but nothing is going to stop that express train that is that Category 1 lead race pack as they work their way onto these back wheels. And as they work their way onto these back wheels, it's Knudsen that goes over the top. Knudsen pushes on, goes straight over the top, and goes into second place on the road today.
Well, I'll tell you something, that was classic Knudsen, wasn't it? Coming up on the group, put in the attack, put in the get every little bit of advantage you can. Really use that confusion. He's gone hard here. Safrazad, Nair, Talbot, Mr. X100 and Zanaska are chasing behind him. They all want to be in his wheel tracks. Has he decided this is the moment? He's only got one rider in front. Parisi's looking behind him. Knudsen is chasing after him. This is the battle for the very front of the road today. But look at Knudsen. He's been closed down by Zach Nair. Come on, Zach. This is amazing, right? I'll tell you something. If we see a group start to form here of Safrazad, Knudsen and Nair, this is going to mean that the chase behind is going to be even more incredible because they've got some class acts to follow.
Well, they have indeed. And Hulls and Nazca X100, Talbot and Kaminsky are the riders now 5 seconds behind because this three up front, Safrazad, Knudsen and Nair, are the ones pushing on. Parisi is the one they are now catching. They are now going over the top of our Category 3 leader, who has been out there leading this race all the way up this climb so far.
He got to 40 kilometres of racing on an aggressive race day before he was caught back by the leaders of Category 1. And it's Michael Knudsen and Saeed Safrazad who are on the offensive again, left-hand side of your screen. They've gone again as they've gone round Parisi, and it looks to me like Zach Nair is in trouble now. So Safrazad and Knudsen, who really have specialised on this climb, have dropped Zach Nair, and I think Nair is in danger of being closed down by the riders behind him. Mr. X100 is leading that pursuit behind with Huell as Talbot not far away either. So Zach Nair has to go and make a plan here and make it fast, because Knudsen and Safrazad have gone off the front. He tried to follow, he couldn't hold the wheels, and now he is being swallowed up by the chasing group behind him. He will not want to drop down through them and out the bottom faster than a Led Zeppelin.
Well, Knudsen pushing on at the moment, Safrazad with him. These two now tapping away on their pedals at the front of this race. And I'm looking at the heart rate information at the moment to give me an idea as to where they're at. And there's still a little bit of range there in Knudsen's heart rate, you know,
What?
Matt. So currently sitting at 190. We know he can just top 200. So a little bit of range still for him there in the latter stages of this race. Not a lot, and it's going to be hurting. But Safrazad is on his wheel now. Safrazad is one of the riders I am always amazed at, because he has an amazing final kick even after a long climb. I don't know where he can find 10, 12 watts per kilo at the end of a long climb. Admittedly, only for a very short period of time, but often that's enough for him to take the win. But Knudsen and Safrazad, regular competitors on these climbing courses.
And coming back to what you said a lot earlier in the racing, they are two riders that you just don't see on the front. And of the two, Saeed Safrazad is the one who does the least chasing down of the two. Generally see Michael Knudsen more animated in the early stages, and is that where Safrazad has that little bit more energy in that kick you were talking about for those last few seconds of that final sprint? And I'm sure Michael Knudsen knows that these two have battled up this climb time and time again, and we've seen this.
Well, we know the only place you want to be on the front is at the finish line.
Yeah,
If you can keep your powder dry as long as possible and utilise that final match in the right place, absolutely important to take the win. But yet again, we're seeing an epic battle between Safrazad and Knudsen on this climb.
So give you a quick recap here. We are at 41.3 kilometers covered. We have two leaders at the front of the race. Saeed Safrazad and Michael Knudsen have gone clear. They were initially chased by Zach Nair, who was able to stay in touch, but was distance with another push from our two leaders. He has now been absorbed and caught by what is an ever-increasing group of Huell, Zanaska, Talbot, Nair, and Mr. X100. That chasing pack are currently just over 10 seconds behind. We're going to get a really clear snapshot as we come to the end of our final segment. The times for the segment's discreet, and this is a 5k segment of the climb. We're in with Mr. X100 at the back of this group as we come in and through, and this will tell us exactly what happened in those last 5 kilometers. Here we go. Knudsen and Safrazad, 10 seconds nearly quicker up that 5k section of climb, with Zanaska, Nair, Huell, Talbot, and Mr. X100 behind. It's what do you take from that, Emma?
Well, what do I take from that? I take from that we've got an attack going on from Knudsen and Safrazad at the moment, but SS is trying to push on, and I bet he's time trialing pretty much like his compatriot and teammate Mr. X100 on that section. He'd had a little bit of a technical issue, I think, earlier on the climb, and he's trying to come back now. One of the other things I think is quite interesting, Matt, is it's only 10 seconds back to Zanaska, Nair, Huell, and Talbot. They are not out of this yet.
They're not, and this is SS, who, as we saw, has now been coming through. His time came in as we were looking at that screen. They were making their way up here and moving his way up the climb, and you can just see that he has continued to push here. He's looking very, very good. He's really has pushed onwards. The question will be, can he pull that group back in front and push himself up? Remember, our riders will be checked and verified, not just by the human checks, but also by the AI system here on MyWhoosh. Let's see how this plays out as we move into the final 2.5 kilometers.
So with just over 2.5 kilometers to go, Knudsen at the moment pushing on, Safrazad in 2, Zanaska in 3, Talbot in 4, Nair in 5. These are the top 5 currently on the road, but they've got company as well. This is not decided yet, but Knudsen is pushing here away from his teammate Safrazad. He's got a gap of about 3 seconds, and that 3 seconds is giving him a gap on the road at the moment. We're just dropping in on the right-hand side of your screen with SS, this rider time trialing his way up this course at his own pace after having been dropped by the group from what looked like a technical issue earlier on. But we are continuing to move, and SS tapping that pace out. X100, his teammate in there. This UAE clan team are heavy in this top 10 today. So Knudsen, Safrazad, Zanaska, Talbot, X100, Hull, Nair. These are the riders currently working their way up the climb, and we still have more than 2 kilometers to go.
So here we go, heading up into the finish. You can see these riders really are pushing. Michael Knudsen with that lead. He's continuing to extend it. It's only a couple of seconds to say. Safrazad, can Safrazad pull him back? You can just see Safrazad has him in his sights. Will they make their way into contact? Mr. X100 has company. David Thomas just up in front. Zanaska on a cracking ride here today. Really is pushing. We're going to come into this right-hand hairpin turn as we go round it. The only rider who can see Knudsen is Safrazad as Mr. X100 moves up into 3rd place on the right-hand side of your screens. Emma talked about his time trial ability on this course. He doesn't necessarily go with all of the attacks with every single kick. He knows exactly how to ride this climb. I know he's ridden this in real life as well as on the platform time and time again, and knows how these bends, how these turns move. Look at this, Mr. X100 trying to pursue down Safrazad, and this is good for the UAE clan team as well. They will want the honour of taking away the team prize here today. But at the front of the race, it is Knudsen on the left of your screen, who is clear of Safrazad. Behind Safrazad is Mr. X100, and SS makes contact with Zach Neck. So Zach Neck and SS, I'll tell you something, these two riders, this is going to be a battle because they both want this. SS is going to accelerate up. Can he tow Nair back in? Is he wanting to tow Nair back in? Or is they going to go for some strength in depth to try and pull back the leaders?
Well, you couldn't get a better tow than for Nair to attach himself like glue to SS's back wheel. Zanaska, Talbot, Hall, X100, Safrazad, Knudsen. These riders need to get the finger out, or it's going to be a UAE clan team 1, 2, 3.
Well, it wouldn't surprise you, would it? They've got such a strong team. The UAE clan team here today. Mr. X100, SS Said, Safrazad, Michael, and Pablo Popovic, who hasn't actually figured it today. And Popovic can take the win on top of the mountain. So here we go. Real big run into the finish coming up. The chase is on at the moment. So you can see Knudsen leading Safrazad into Mr. X100 in 3. He's coming up on to the wheel of Safrazad and trying to make his way up, but he's not going to do it, I don't think. Or is he? He's just round the corner. He's coming. So this is going to be tight. Now, left-hand side, Michael Knudsen now inside the final kilometre. 1 kilometre to go for him. 1 kilometre to go for the chasing group. Sandwiched in between is Safrazad. who's yo-yoing between the two groups.
Yeah, he might be yo-yoing between the two groups, and this group is coming, and they're not letting this race go away from them yet. There's 900 meters to go. This is one big kick effort now. 800 meters to go for Knudsen, who's on the front of this race, but this top 5 has not been decided, and everyone is going to have to dig in now and dig in hard.
So 7 riders, 5 prizes. Who's going to take away those top 5 prize money? Remember, at the end of the race, we'll be giving you the live results. They will be unofficial until all of the riders' performances have been verified by the AI and all of the checks on the riders, their data that they have to submit on the way through. At the moment, Michael Knudsen just ahead of Saeed Safrazad, who's ahead of this chasing group on the right-hand side of your screen. Knudsen at fast approaching 500 meters to go. He's got less than that. He's got 400 meters to go. He's absolutely flying up here. So 400 meters for Knudsen, 500 for the group behind. But on this climb, that is substantial seconds, 11 seconds between them.
Well, the Swiss rider Knudsen, if he doesn't know how to ride a mountain, he shouldn't be living in Switzerland. Safrazad's pushing on into X100's been caught in 3s, and Naska is there, Talbot is there, Hull is there. These riders now all fighting this out for 3rd place, but there's only 8 seconds separating them from 2nd. There's 5 seconds separating 2nd and 1st as Knudsen continues to push on. The finish line is coming. In fact, he can see the finish line now.
So this is it, Michael Knudsen. After hiding out of the way, he came out on the mountain to play. He's come up here and ascended, and he's going to be on the top step because it's Michael Knudsen who wins qualifier race number 2 on the MyWhoosh Sunday Race Club.
Safrazad comes over the line in 2s, and Naska is going to take 3rd, Talbot 4th, Hull 5th, X100 in 6th, and then I think it's going to be SS who's a little bit further back down the road.
What a result on the way through. And I'll tell you something, Lucas Zanaska, if you could see our camera in the studio, I think I nearly took the roof off the studio there, because where did he come from? He was riding strongly in the group, but he saved it all for the right time. So let's have a quick check down the results so far, which of course are unofficial at this time. Michael Knudsen in 1, Saeed Safrazad in 2, his teammate on that UAE clan team. Then it's Lucas Zanaska in 3, leading home the Italian Gelato team. David Talbot and Edward Hull in 4th and 5th places respectively. And then it is Mr. X100 and SS in 6th and 7th places for the UAE clan team. The clan team will have Knudsen, Safrazad and Mr. X100 as their counters. Great ride by Zach Nair, taking 8th place up there. And I got to say, our 2 riders from the stage, David Talbot and Zach Nair, both again putting it in fantastic performances. But we are talking the top 8 riders on the way through, with 9th place Jasper Paradines approaching the line.
Well, can I tell you something, Matt? Zach Nair's position in 8th is almost the same finishing time as the race on the February final. Knudsen taking nearly a minute off of Safrazad's winning time from the February final.
So Knudsen's got a minute quicker to take the win than Safrazad after our finals the preceding month, certainly a couple of weeks ago. Certainly improving and coming into form. We just saw Jasper Paradines take a 9th place. A 10th place is going to be Michael Kaminski of the Ricola squad coming through. So our top 10 riders are in and done and over the line in category 1. And don't forget, you can catch up with all of the results in categories 1, 2, 3 and 4 on the MyWhoosh website as they come through. Remember, those results will be verified, and when it comes up with that, that is the final result. So we've had a cracking time watching the racing. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as we have, if that's possible, because it was an absolutely brilliant race. Emma, it's been a pleasure having you here. Where can we find you on social media?
Yeah, so please do get in touch with us on social media. You can find me at Biking Emma on Instagram, or you can follow us both at Full Speed Events, and you can get in contact there. Please do.
And don't forget, of course, it's Matt Fixer Pain. We are, of course, the voice that you hear, but this is all brought to you by an amazing team. I've got to say a massive thank you to the entire team at MyWhoosh who make the racing and the coverage happen. We're all going to be back to doing exactly the same thing next week. So make sure if you're out and riding, you stay safe, enjoy yourself on the bike. From myself, from Emma, from all of the team, thank you for watching. Stay safe. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.